So, today I have a new haircut, as you might have noticed. Very fun. I just needed a change so far as that goes. But the more important stuff, I wanted to talk about my September and October reading plans. Why am I talking about 2 TBR months worth of reading within one video? Because I found readathons, one of which spans across both months, so I figured I may as well just talk about both months all at once. So, we'll hop into it. First, I'm going to be participating in Becca's Bookopolathon again. Bookopolathon? I forget exactly how she phrases it, but I'm going to do that again, and that's for the entire month of September. So yay, super excited for that one. Can't wait. So, I've already done my rolls and stuff for this, so I've got some books to talk about related to that. I ended up doing 6 total rolls for this. I did it as 6 because I wanted to go like a whole cycle around the board, and I had originally thought 5, but I wasn't quite back to the go space, so I was like, I'll just do one more roll, and ended up with 6, and that got me all the way around. So, the first roll I made, I rolled a 7, and from that I got a chance card, which I planned poorly and did not actually make any chance cards, but I saw on her board that one of the options was a mood read, so I was like, I'm going to take a chance on a mood read for the month, and that'll be my first choice. So obviously, as a mood read, I don't have a book to show off for this one, but I'm going to essentially count it if it's a book that I'm in the mood to read, do a mood read, and it's not one of the other books on my TBR for the Bookopolathon, is how I'm going to look at that. So, there's that one. Next up, I rolled another 7. I just rolled a lot of 7s, but my second roll was also a 7, and it ended up on the Who, I believe is what it was, where basically the prompt was that you're reading a book that's you never hear talked about or that few people are talking about. And for this one, I picked one that I have never heard people talk about, but it's one that I've been wanting to read recently, and I've had it for a while. I got it from a library book sale ages and ages ago. But yeah, I want to read I Got Schooled by M. Night Shyamalan. So part of my inspiration for wanting to read this is I recently watched his newest movie, Old, and I was kind of thinking of maybe doing like a combo video talking about I Got Schooled and Old, and just maybe some M. Night Shyamalan in general, kind of my thoughts on that. But also, I'm really curious. The subtitle for the book is The Unlikely Story of How a Moonlighting Movie Maker Learned the 5 Keys to Closing America's Education Gap. So it sounds like there'll be some fun kind of like directing background going on, some fun like educational tidbits in America background. So I'm just curious. I want to know more of his experience. If you followed me in my videos, you also know that I really love memoirs, and so this kind of sounds like it's got some memoir vibes to it. So I'm excited for that. Next up, I rolled another 7 for my third roll, and that one was a book with a cute cover, or that sounded cute. One of those two things. I did not write the exact prompt down, but I do have a book for this one, and that is Freya and Zeus. I mean, look at this. We've got a little penguin and a little mouse, a little hot air balloon. It's clearly more of like a juvenile fiction book, but it looks cute, and so it fits the prompt, and I'm gonna read it. And then next up, for roll 4, I got my first different numbered roll, and I rolled a 10 on this one, and this one was a book with disability or mental health rep. And for this one, I've got another sort of memoir. This one might be more essays, I'm not positive, but this one is called Spilt Milk, and it's by Courtney Zoffness. And this one, she talks about her childhood anxiety disorder and kind of some of her other life experiences, so I was like, oh, anxiety disorder, mental health rep. It's maybe not entirely what the prompt intended, because I think that's more for like fiction with that rep in it, but this is what I had on hand, so it's what I'm going with for the prompt. Then next up, for my 5th roll, I rolled the prompt that was the, of, a, and, an. And that's basically any of those words on the cover for the title. And I came up with the girls in the attic for this one. This is a World War II story about a guy who's a committed soldier of the Third Reich, and then his family starts hiding some Jewish people, thus the girls in the attic, and kind of what develops from there. So obviously this has "the" in the title, so it fits the prompt. It even has "the" twice in the title, so I'm excited for that one. It'll hopefully be a good one. I generally like World War II fiction, so I'm looking forward to that. And then the final roll that, again, I kind of jumped into is that I rolled a 9 and ended up on TBR Vet, which is a book that's been on your TBR for the longest. I could not accurately say which book technically is been the longest on my TBR, because even on this shelf behind me, I haven't read all the books, and I got schooled. I've just had a lot of books for a long time. But I did pick one that's probably been on my TBR so far as library books that I've had for the longest. And that's going to be, I'm going to read the second book in this Tanya Huff, The Keeper Chronicles, The Second Summoning. I don't remember if I talked about it specifically, but I read Summon the Keeper earlier this year, and I had the book for 3 months, the entire time that I could hold it, and then I had to return it before I could read the other two, and I've had this for another month already, because I'm doing bad at getting to my library books. You know this if you've been watching and listening to me talk about anything, but that's my goal, is to read the second one. If we get to the third one too, that would be super awesome, but just planning on the second one for sure, and maybe I'll just end up having this book for a whole year. We'll see, but it feels like a TBR Vet because it's one of the library books that I've had the longest, because I've already had to recheck this out once after returning it, so I feel like that counts. Next up, we've finished our Bookopolathon TBR, but I have another readathon, as I mentioned. I found the Halloweenathon, which is not one I'd ever heard of before, but I was just kind of browsing through the booktube stuff, and this one came up, and I was like, ooh, that's fun. I kind of want some spooky books or something. And this one takes place from September through the end of October. Thus me talking about it now, but it also essentially being probably what my October TBR will end up being, because I've already got several books to read for my September TBR. But anyways, this one's actually based on a bingo card, and so you can kind of pick which bingo you want to make with it. And so let's talk about the one that I've got for this. So the first prompt that I'm going to be doing from this is a classic lit spooky read. And I don't have a physical copy of this one yet, but my plan for this one is I want to read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, because I've never read that book, but I've heard it's supposed to be pretty good. It should have the spooky vibes, because it's at least something that comes up in horror film, so hopefully the book itself has some spooks in it too. But it feels like it qualifies because you've got the man versus the monster and all that, so it sounds like a spooky read. I'm looking forward to that. The second one that I've got is the second prompt that I will be doing is a book of spooky short stories. And for this, I've got Under My Hat. I actually don't technically know how spooky any of these will be. It's a witch anthology specifically, thus the hat theme. But yeah, it's got a bunch of different short stories about witches in it. Some of the highlight authors that I'm excited for in it would be Holly Black, Charles DeLint, Garth Nix, Neil Gaiman. I'm excited for this one. I think it'll be fun. I love short stories, as you probably know if you've watched anything from me. But a short story anthology sounds really fun, and just kind of a spooky, witchy theme seems like a good choice. It might help me get through it faster too, because it'll just be short stories, so I can just pick them up every once in a while and read them. And we like that kind of thing. So, moving on from that, the third space that I have, the bingo card ended up being a diagonal through it. So my third one is the free space. And I'm thinking I'll still technically pick a book for this, but it's kind of up in the air what will count for it, as we'll discuss as we move on to prompt number 4 that I've got, which is a book with ghosts in it. So I have 2 books that are kind of my idea and my thought for this one. Burnt Tongues, which is another anthology. It's classified as horror by my library, so I'm assuming there's at least spooky stories in it, and hopefully at least one of them is about a ghost, and if not, it can be my free space. So that's kind of what I'm thinking with that one. But also, along with this, I have this book, which is, oh, no, sorry, that's the wrong book. Sorry, I have Bloodleaf. And this one, the dust jacket talks about ghosts, both like ghosts of her past and I think like actual ghosts. So this one might be my ghost one. And then this one would be my free space. But it kind of depends on what comes up in it, because maybe this one won't have ghosts either, and then I'll be up a creek and I won't have anything that actually fulfills the prompt with either of those books. We'll see. But yeah, that's my plans with that prompt. And then finally, the 5th one that I'll be doing for that is a book with witch, dark, blood, bone, or body in the title. And again, I have 2 options for this one. The first one that I accidentally revealed a little bit early is Sister of Darkness. So it's got darkness, so it's got dark in the title. This is another one that I picked up from a library book sale. This one I picked up more recently, though. It's a memoir about a modern exorcist, which sounds fascinating. And, I mean, I guess technically maybe this one could also count for my ghost one if I needed to, depending on if you believe in real life that we have ghosts or not. But exorcism is also technically probably more demons than ghosts. But anyways, I'm very curious, and I want to read this one. So I'm excited to have it on a TBR as an excuse to try and read it. And then the final option that I have for this is 9 Pints, which technically, I guess, doesn't fit the title unless you look at the subtitle, which is A Journey Through the Money, Medicine, and Mysteries of Blood. And I'm very curious and very excited for this one. It's like a nonfiction about like the blood market and the blood industry, and I just want to see how it goes, and I'm very curious about it. So here we are, hoping this one's good too. But yeah, that's my TBR plans for September and October. If you're participating in either of these readathons, feel free to tell me down below in what books you're reading, or if you have suggestions and prompts, particularly for the ghosts, because I might need a ghost book, even with all these books on my list. We'll see. But yeah, just let me know. I'd love to chat with other people about these readathons too. I've done the Bookopolathon before and really loved it, so I'm excited to try the Halloweenathon too and just kind of have some fun reading for the upcoming months. And I think that's all I got for now. This is the Umlaut Harper signing out.